Honorable Dada Kane Lakhani sir, Chairperson, Co-Chairman, and my dear friends. When I think of modern medicine, I think of only one thing. Modern medicine to me is like a soap. When I was in school, you think back about 30 or 40 years, there used to be only one kind of soap, Hamam, Lifebuoy, right? Only one kind of soap. Whether you want to wash your face, wash your hair, wash your body, one soap. But today, there is a soap for your face, for your hand, there is a hand wash, something like that. For hair, there is shampoo. It depends on which kind of hair you want to clean. So, for each and every part of the body, virtually there is a soap, precisely meant for that particular part, with the belief that every part of the body gets dirty in a different way. So, it should be clean in a different way. So, today I clean my hair. Can you guess it is shampoo or face wash or body soap? So, I tried this, you also try. Of course, one day you do it with shampoos, second day you do with the body wash, and third day with the face wash. I think face wash is better, right? So, modern medicine has become like this. About 50 years back, 30 years back, there used to be only one doctor. But now there are so many specialists, super specialists, to the extent that for the left eye, there is another specialist, for the right eye, there is another specialist. Even from the in between the eyes, eyeball, there is a super specialist. So, it reminds me of a story of an elephant you might have heard in your childhood. Elephant and 7 blind men. So, it is the same. Unless you see a person as a whole, you cannot repair, you cannot correct it. Your interpretation will not be correct. So, that is the most important thing. We have to understand that each and every part of the body is connected together, integrated together. It cannot be seen as a separate entity. And the moment you try to see it as a separate entity, you can do the treatment, but you cannot cure. So, that's why I think always it is called practicing doctor. Practice, not perfect. It is a practice. Have you ever heard practicing engineer? There is no practicing engineer, a perfect engineer, right? But there is a practicing doctor because not sure of what will be the outcome. And to me, among all the profession, doctor is the best profession. Whether you give result or not, you will get your money. Right? Suppose you take your car to the mechanic shop, but he is not able to repair the car. Will you give him money? You will not give him money. Rather, you will ask for some penalty because he has wasted your time and a lot of other things, your misery. But in medical science, in doctors, the good thing for all of us, among at least those who are doctors, they need not to worry about money. That will come, right? And if the patient dies, then it will their next to them, their relative, somebody will give. So here we have to really think about it. What should be the medical science? And I call it table to toilet. Before I start, let me ask a simple question. ये फ्रीज है मेरे ख्याल से. यहाँ हो रहा है, वहाँ नहीं हो रहा. ये तो हो रहा है, उधर नहीं हो रहा. Okay. Can you tell me which are the disease not of the microbes, not of the germs? Which are the disease out of this which is not caused by the germs, not caused by the microbes? Anybody, anyone? You? Diabetes? Heart disease? Hypertension? Cancer. So we have a clear understanding that which are the disease of microbes and which are not the disease of microbes. So we have categorized disease in two different categories. One is the lifestyle disease, as you said, hypertension, diabetes, cancer, and other is the disease thyroid, another is the disease of germs, microbes, virus, bacteria, tuberculosis, typhoid, malaria, dengue, H1N1. These are the disease of germs. And then there is disease of lifestyle. The problem comes here. The problem comes the moment you are distinguishing the two diseases. So we have to look once again. So at the end of this lecture, I'll ask this question again, and let's see what is your answer, right? Okay. As I told yesterday, your distance between table and toilet, right? Greater is the distance, more is the illness. So whether it's piles or cancer, constipation, ulcer, everything is in between these two. The only thing you have to do is you have to adjust the distance. If you're able to adjust the distance, the disease gets cured. So what should be your distance? That is what is the most important thing. We will try to calculate that. This is what is the most important thing. The moment you eat something, it first goes to the stomach, and that is the first interaction of your body with something which is not your body, which is something outside, which is something foreign to your body. It's the first interaction, the first barrier is your stomach, right? And the stomach decides what should be going inside and what should not be going inside. That is the ultimate barrier between the outside world and the inside world, right? So that is the most important thing. To what extent important? You see, this is the place where the microbes, bacteria lives. How much bacteria? Unlimited. But if you want to quantify it, it is all about 1.4 kg of bacteria. You can, if you collect all the bacteria together and you weigh them, it should be about 1.4, 1.5 kg, equal to the weight of your brain. So your brain weight and the weight of the bacteria is exactly same, almost same. That is why this part is also known as second brain. Many of the function of the stomach can do independently without the interference of the brain. So this thing we have to understand, that you are having two brain, and one of the brain is the one which is the barrier between the outside world and the inside world, and the how important it is, about 1.4 kg of bacteria lying here. Not only here, it is all around your body. It is on the skin. बैक्टीरिया हमारे पूरे बॉडी में है, स्टमक में है, ईसोफेगस में है, स्किन में है पूरे. They are invisible because they are very, very small. But in last 50 years, we have announced war against bacteria. We want to kill all of them. We are made to believe they are our enemy number one. So we try to do all the things so that they are not left alive. And antiseptic cream, antiseptic mouthwash, antibiotic, sanitizer, all those places where the bacteria lives. For that, you have a tool, you have a weapon to kill them. Many of them, millions of them lives in your hand. You want to kill it every day. You do it, right? You are told to do it. Similarly, many of them lives in your mouth. You kill it every day. Many of them live in your on your face, on the skin. You kill it, right? Before you start from your house, you ensure by all the weapon, I will kill all the microbe, all the bacteria. They are the enemy number one, because most of the people, they die, at least 50% of them, not now, about 50 years back, they die of infectious disease, isn't it? Right? So, you see, 1900th century, the 50% of the death, or even more than 50% of the death, was because of the germs, because of tuberculosis, because of smallpox, because of measles, because of diphtheria, right? So because of loose motion connected with, again, microbes. So it was very clear that our enemy number one, which causes 50% of the death or more than 50% of the death, are microbes. So let's kill the enemy, isn't it? And that's what we are trying to achieve. And to achieve that, we have number of tools, we have number of weapons. And these are some of the weapons which we use every day. They are called drugs. They are called medicine. But now it has become a part of the lifestyle. Right? We do not see it as a medicine anymore. We see it as a lifestyle, isn't it? We don't call it as a medicine. You don't say that I'm applying medicine, right? So I'm applying medicine. So rather it is other way around. If somebody is not using sanitizer, then he is unhygienic person, right? It is the other way around. So we don't see it as a medicine, but the truth is these are medicine, these are tools, these are weapons to kill your number one enemy, which is responsible for 50% of the death happening in the world about, say, 100 years back. So what happened? With the help of these weapons, with the help of these tools, we were able to achieve that 50% or more death. Now it is 2010 report I have. From 50%, it came down to 3%. Isn't it good? Wonderful? Logically, right? 50%, you kill all the enemy. Now the human being die of infectious disease, only 3%. Out of every 100 people, the cause of death because of infectious disease is just 3%. So this means modern medicine has achieved something wonderful. And you were criticizing yesterday, making some people angry. Thank you. So today I want to correct it, right? Modern medicine has really contributed. Otherwise, many of us, including me, would have been killed, suffering from tuberculosis or measles or smallpox, right? Maybe already dead. You are alive because you are not killed, because 50% of the cause of illness is taken care by what we call as modern medicine, right? So that is statistically, it is proved, the data is here. I call it a big change, very big change, a dramatic change which happened in a span of, say, 50 years, 50, 60 years, since the time when first antibiotic was invented, penicillin, right? Maybe 1940 or so. But there is one more bigger change. साउंड नहीं है, कल भी नहीं है, वही था. अच्छा, हेलो हेलो, ये कर रहे हैं ना, आने दीजिए. Okay, let's come back. I call it a very big change, but there is one more bigger change which many of you could not see. And the bigger change is the human nowadays became bigger and taller. You see, for most of you, including me, we are taller than our parents. We are bigger than our parents. Maybe more beautiful than our parents. Right? That is something where we can debate. But surely we are taller than our parents. We are bigger than our parents. Isn't it? Right? So that is a contribution of antibiotics. I will prove it later on. Whether human being or animals, when they are put on antibiotics, any kind of antibiotics, they start growing very, very big, very, very quickly. That's why the animals who are grown to be killed so that it becomes your food, they are grown with a lot of antibiotics. because then they will grow very, very fast, very, very big, and then they will be more money. It will translate into more money, right? So one more good thing is, you want to be bigger, taller, or you want to remain shorter? Everybody would like to be taller and bigger, isn't it? And this means antibiotics or those medicine are contributing silently in one more thing, making you taller, making you bigger, right? So there is a reference also. But it's like, you see tomato, which is grown, homegrown tomato in a village, looks little bit ugly, very, very small, but then genetically modified tomato looks like coming from the factory, all evenly shaped, all very big. So nowadays, the human being, should we compare the human being with this tomato, or they have become this, right? So if you see, go to any modern developed country, most of the people will be compared to this, bigger, taller, right, like that. So that is how they will look. But one more thing I'll add, human now became bigger and taller and also sicker. More sick than before, no doubt about it. Because now most part of the life, for most of the people, we are consuming some kind of medication, and for most part of the life, for most people, we are under some kind of pain on a continuous basis. Some kind of pain, right? So continuously, if you are dependent on some medication every day, so you are not living. You are trying to live, right? So you are not healthy. So that is one thing, that today's humans are bigger and taller but sicker. Sick than what it was before. So why all this happening? What the study says? It's all about studies. It is all about proof. So the mechanism, how the body works inside, what causes these changes, if you understand the cause, then only you can find the cure. Then only you can find the solution. To find the solution of a problem, first thing is we have to find what causes this problem at the first place. Unless you know what is the solution, what is the problem, what is the cause, why it happened, you cannot go for the solution. So the cause, let's go back. It starts with what we call as antibiotic resistance. It is a very simple concept. Let me make you understand in a very simple way. I'll give you one example to make you understand. Classical example is example of one bacteria called Helicobacter H. pylori bacteria. H. pylori we'll call by name. It is seen in 1980 that more and more people were suffering from ulcer. And if you suffer from ulcer even today for long period, ulcer gets converted into cancer. So people are suffering from ulcer, not getting cured, and then getting converted into cancer. One thing commonly found in all the people who are suffering from ulcer was they all were having one bacteria in common, H. pylori bacteria. Anybody who will suffer from ulcer, in their body, in their stomach, lot of H. pylori bacteria. Then the science invented an antibiotic, means a tool to kill that H. pylori. And they saw when they kill H. pylori bacteria in the people who are suffering from ulcer, the ulcer goes away. So they got a cure, a medicine to treat ulcer. Clear? So this means you see 10 people suffering from ulcer, and then see what is common among them, and you try to eliminate that common thing. And if the ulcer goes, this means the cause is, what is the cause in this case? H. pylori, right? So you know the cause, you remove the cause. If it is cured, then it is more, now you are sure about it, the cause of ulcer was H. pylori. What is the underlying mechanism? That is not important, that people are not interested. Most of the time, even science could not find. But more important here is that if I could do something to remove ulcer, that is the first duty of science, or what we call as modern medicine. So that was achieved. So how it happens? Imagine in a stomach of a person with a ulcer, these are, yellow dots are H. pylori bacteria. Now, if it is getting killed, then the ulcer will also vanish. That is being proven. To kill it, you have to give some antibiotic, which can attack, which can kill this bacteria. Here, very important thing you have to understand, the total number of bacteria in the stomach is constant. Neither it can grow more, neither it can grow less. The total population in the stomach is constant, right? Let's say it is 1.4 kg of bacteria. That is constant. Now, when the antibiotic is killing this H. pylori bacteria, the ulcer is gone, surely, but the population of total bacteria will reduce or increase? Reduce. But the nature of the body is it has to remain constant. Even if it gets reduced, some other kind of bacteria will multiply quickly so that the total number, total quantity should become same, right? So the kind of bacteria which will get an opportunity to grow very quickly are the kind which cannot be killed by that antibiotic. Is it logical? Yeah? So those bacteria, those are known as resistant bacteria. They are already there, but in a very small quantity in the stomach, right? So small quantity that it cannot influence your body at all. It cannot do any good, it cannot do any bad, it is just a minority resident in your body, right? But now, when the antibiotic killed the H. pylori in this case, then the minority which cannot be killed by that particular antibiotic, what it will happen? It will get an opportunity, a playground to increase very quickly. And how much time it takes? 1 day. 1 day, right? In 1 day, they can cross 300 generations. For us, 1 generation means 30 years. For them, in 1 day, 300 generations, right? So 1 day is enough. And within 1 day, what will happen? Your stomach looking like this with ulcer, antibiotic comes in, ulcer is gone, but now your stomach look like this, right? These red are resistant bacteria. Resistant means they cannot be attacked. They are immune to antibiotic, number one. And most likely these are the bacteria which are notorious also. Somehow they are notorious also. They are not contributing any good to your body. But when they are in large quantity, it is going to be a burden on the body. Because the total amount of bacteria cannot be more or less, it has to be constant. This means they are occupying a space, but they are not contributing in your well-being, right? So that is one example. Now, if you start taking the antibiotic more and more, this means your body, your stomach will develop more and more bacteria which are resistant to the antibiotics, right? So, you see, since 1940 or 1930, when the first antibiotic was introduced, it took only 5 years, 7 years, 10 years for the population to become resistant to certain kind of bacteria which is there in the body. This means, take any medicine, it is not going to affect that bacteria because they are resistant, and that is why they have grown, right? So, this means, now, this generation, including me and you, we have what inside are more or less called resistant bacteria. Clear? So, one proof that you see 1983 to 1987, there were 16 antibiotic was invented. Then 1988 to 1992, 14 antibiotic was invented. But after 2012, no invention of antibiotics. Because now your body is full of resistant bacteria. Now there is no weapon which can kill, right? So this means now we are not the same human being as we were 20 years back, right? We were not the same brain, 1.4 kg is there, still it is 1.4 kg, at that time also 1.4 kg, but this 1.4 kg is different from that 1.4 kg. The population is different, their behavior is different from that 1.4 kg, right? So, in the beginning, when the antibiotic was introduced, it seems that it is saving some life. But in long run, now a new problem which is called antibiotic resistant. This means you are full of those bacteria which are your resident, but they are not contributing to your well-being. Right? So I'll give you one example. H. pylori we talked. When it is in high quantity, it will cause what? Ulcer. So what you did? You killed it. When it is in very less quantity, it causes gastric, esophageal reflux disease, celiac disease, stomach cancer, asthma, right? So these are the things which causes, right, allergy. If it is very less or negligible, even then it causes disease. If it is very much high, even then it causes disease. Both the cases it causes disease. It has to be in an optimum number, only then it can work effectively. Whether it is H. pylori bacteria, which I'm talking about. Now you see, all this disease which you can see here, it comes under the category of lifestyle disease, or it comes under the category of germ disease. These are known to be lifestyle disease, but the culprit here is, yeah, the percentage of a particular bacteria, right? Or if I talk of Akkermansia mucinifila, need not to remember the name, right? Name of a bacteria. If your body is lacking this bacteria, this is the bacteria which triggers the pancreas, tells the pancreas how to produce insulin. So, but if the population of this bacteria is less, then the pancreas will not learn or will not be alert enough to produce the required amount of insulin. How much insulin your body needs every day, every moment, this calculation was sent, this information is sent by something called this bacteria, which is there on the screen. And again, if this bacteria is not there in your body or very less in your body, then you will see that the body is not able to produce insulin as much as should be, and you will be categorized as a diabetes patient. Diabetes patient is a lifestyle disease, but who is responsible? Microbes, right? So this means you are not paying attention to the microbe because it is connected with either genetic or lifestyle disease. So the focus is somewhere else, right? The culprit is someone else, right? But the focus is somewhere else. So you cannot find the solution, right, if you focus at the wrong place, right? If your money or a money purse is lost somewhere else, but you try to find it in different location, however good you are at finding certain things, you still will not be able to find out. So the important thing is where we want to find the solution, right? So one more example. We have heard of this hormone, serotonin. It is known to be connected with the hormone of the brain. Anything related to the brain, mood, depression, emotion, right, brain's functioning is connected with this hormone. But the interesting thing is 80% of this hormone is produced in the stomach by the bacteria, the friendly bacteria. But the kind of bacteria which is in your stomach is not friendly, resistant bacteria. So, and because of that, you see nowadays, insomnia, autism, brain disorder, these are the kind of name which are coined only in last 30 years. Before 30 years, when you were in school, when I was in school, I've never heard anybody autism. I've seen a child with a allergy or a skin disease, or I've never seen a small child with asthma. Or in my whole school, right, if I count how many children were there with spectacles, very few. But now every third child is wearing spectacles. You go to the school, every third or fourth child you will find wearing spectacles. So these are the big differences, which seems to be a lifestyle disorder. But if you see inside, you'll find there is some connection with the microbe also, right? So the population of microbe these days are different from the population of microbe when we were young. That's why it is 16 February 2019, The Lancet. It is called End of Modern Medicine, a great article that modern medicine has ended. Medicine, the body has become resistant to medicine. We have to look for something beyond medicine now. The time has come, right? So it is antimicrobial resistance. It is a big topic all over the world for last few years. In last few years, modern medicine has literally accepted that the medicine has failed to work. It cannot work anymore because technically, you know, your body has developed resistant bacteria so much that now the medicine cannot work. Now, if any medicine is invented to kill the bacteria, it can kill the bacteria only when it kills you as well. Right? So that's why, thank you. That is the reason why, with this worry in mind, WHO and other organizations, they started something called GLASS. Launched in October 2015, it's called Global Antimicrobial Resistance Surveillance System. And 71 countries participated, including India. These, with pink, these are the countries, they participated in this mission. That is, mission is removing the medicine, removing the antibiotics from the human life, right? So if medicines are so important, so good, why there is a drive to remove it from Earth? This means now they have realized that in short term it may seem to be giving some benefit to the humans, but in long run it is killing the humans. Trying to cure the humans with medicine, but the humanity is suffering, right? That is what is understood now. For a short term, you may get some relief, but at the cost of making the whole generation sick and getting killed or suffering most of the time. Now here you see, ulcer may lead to cancer, that is one thing, right? But H. pylori bacteria, if it is very, very less, then directly it may cause cancer. If it is very, very high, it will cause ulcer. Ulcer will cause cancer. But if it is very, very less, directly it will cause cancer, stomach cancer, right? So in addition to this, if H. pylori bacteria is very, very less, negligible, then in addition to that, it will cause these illness. So you see, in 1994, WHO has announced a war against H. pylori bacteria, and WHO has announced H. pylori bacteria is carcinogen. Right? This means it is having a cancerous property, so wherever you find this bacteria, just keep on killing it randomly. Right? And then what happened? When they started killing the bacteria, right? Like what happens? Vaccination drive, randomly try to vaccinate all the children. Each of the child is getting 25 vaccination these days. Similarly, there was a drive, 1994, in several developed countries, where they tried to kill all H. pylori bacteria because it is being announced as a cancer causing. Now those children in developed country, they are in the body are deficient with those bacteria, and now the kind of illness they are suffering, as I just shown you, these are the kind of illness. Less that, this becomes more. That is less, this becomes more, right? So these are the illness of the developed country. Small children of developed country, these are the illness. Poor country, these are not the illness, because they don't have the money to buy antibiotic and distribute to their citizen. So they are protected. Still they are protected. Their body, their children's body, they have this bacteria in large quantity, right, in optimum quantity. So they are not facing this illness as of now. I'll give you one example, how the microbe and the disease connection exist. How a microbe can be responsible for your well-being, or how the microbe can make you sick. One example, like let's talk of a hormone, estrogen, a female hormone, mostly a female hormone, body is producing, ovary is producing, it goes to the liver. And in the liver is, you know, chemical factory. It does some processing based on its own intelligence. It binds, it combines this hormone with sugar. So from the factory, when the chemical factory, when the product is coming out, it comes out estrogen plus sugar, coated with sugar, right? Now, this travels in the intestine. This travels in the intestine. When it travels in the intestine, intestine is full of bacteria, friendly bacteria. And bacteria's food to live is that sugar. So bacteria, what it does, while the estrogen is carrying sugar, bacteria takes away the sugar from the estrogen and eat it to feed itself. So the estrogen is left alone. If it is left alone, it will do only one thing. It will enter the blood. Now it will be circulating in the blood, right? So, and it will contribute, it will do its function for which it is made. That is how. Thank you. But if your body is full of resistant bacteria, then how it happens? Estrogen will come to the liver. Liver will does its own duty. Chemical factory, the finished good is estrogen plus sugar. Now they are flowing in the stomach. But in the stomach, instead of friendly bacteria, what is there? And the resistant bacteria behavior is not the same as friendly bacteria. They eat different kind of food. They are not interested in that sugar. So this means the resistant bacteria will not be able to take out or eat the sugar. This means they will not be able to break the bonding. If estrogen and sugar bonding is not broken, it cannot enter the blood, it has to excrete. Right? Thank you, friends. And if it excretes, the level of estrogen in the blood will decrease. Lesser is the level of estrogen in the blood, more is abnormal bleeding, irregular periods, PCOD, all kind of female hormonal disease. Thank you, friends. Thank you. So this is the contribution of modern medicine to us in last 50 years. So here you have to understand, although if you look carefully, these diseases mostly look to be a lifestyle-oriented disease, or somebody will say this is a genetic-oriented disease, but the truth, if you see step by step, it is more to do with micro in the body. The resistant bacteria or the friendly bacteria. Ultimately, they are our second brain. So, the same classical case with diabetes. What is diabetes? It is known to be a lifestyle disease. Diabetes simply means, which I tell in my many of the lecture, diabetes means high sugar in the blood. So the rule is, if you can bring down your sugar to a normal level, what is normal level? Again, there is a question mark, but whatever is your normal level, then diabetes is gone. That is what is our understanding. What is diabetes? It means high sugar in the body, high sugar in the blood, diabetes. You do something with your body, blood sugar comes normal, no diabetes. That is the present understanding. That is what we have understood till now with our own experience of being a diabetes patient, with the experience of the people around us. Diabetes means high sugar in the body. Okay, that is the present thing. Now, you see, modern medicine could understand diabetes means high sugar and we have to bring down the sugar. And if you could bring down the sugar, like H. pylori example, that high H. pylori causes cancer, we have to bring down H. pylori, that's all. So similarly, body is not that simple, but that connection is made. H. pylori more, bring it down, cancer or ulcer will be low. Similarly, the understanding is high sugar, bring it down, that's all. So in last 50 years, you have seen all around that people, they brought down the sugar. The sugar came down, but what happened? Complication went up, right? People, sugar is normal range, but they are more sick. Whether we call of ACCORD trial, advanced trial, VADD trial, Veteran Affairs Diabetes trial, UKPDS trial, all the trials, they point out only one thing: medicine can bring down the sugar, blood sugar, at the cost of making you more sick. Very clearly, right? So high sugar is bad, but trying to bring down with medicine is worse. So you have a choice between bad and worse, right? If somebody asks me whether high sugar is good, I know bad, you should bring down it. But if you try to bring down with medicine, it is even worse. So the choice between bad and worse, which one you will choose? Let it be bad. So any day, it is always better to have a high blood sugar rather than trying to reduce it with medication. That is the current understanding or with the basis of these trials. Let me tell you one important thing. You may be thinking, all these trials were there, even then why even today? Today, if you from this hall, you go to any hospital, any doctor, the moment they see the high blood sugar, what they will do? They will give medicine. So why they are not following these trials? Why they are not following? These trials, most of the trial happened before 2008. After 2008, only one trial happened, that is 2012 VADT trial. Rest of the trial happened before 2008. This means these information were available to us for more than a decade now. Right? In last 10 years also, we were knowing through this result that medicine can bring down the blood sugar at the cost of making you even more sick. But they were not implemented in the real world. Because implementing them in the real world means you have to call your patient and ask the patient that in last 20 years, the medication which I asked you to take, from today you must stop it. And the patient will lose faith on the doctor, right? So this means the whole industry will collapse, right? So that this is the problem, dilemma situation for the medical fraternity, what to do. So finally, with all this dilemma in 2018, as Yogesh ji has told yesterday, in 2018, ACP guideline came, and if you see the first guideline of the ACP, the 4 guidelines, first guideline was